Welcome back, everyone. My name is Emily Gear. I'm a multidimensional channel and transformative energy healer. And I know I've been away a while. I am back. I wanted to do your weekly reading, weekly energy report. I will be doing another twin flame energy report with an extended. So keep your eyes out for that once it gets up, but this one is going to go up first. So I just want to direct your attention to the screen for a moment where my website is visible. This is where you can go to schedule a healing session with me or a reading session. All of those things are the same to me. You just choose the amount of time that you would like to spend with me, basically digging into whatever comes up, whatever you want, whatever source guides me to, basically, as well. So we'll do a combination of things in your session. Also on this website, I've uploaded a couple different options that are by email, not live options. And so they are they're at a considerably lower price point. And these include a short 10-minute channeled writing for life purpose, a short 10-minute channeled writing for past lives or a past life that is significant to your experience now. And there's also a 17-card reading for whatever one situation you would like me to look into, which I then do as a voice recording and upload a YouTube link to you. So in any case, those are some options if you are not sure if a live reading or energy healing session is right for you just yet. So with all of that said, we are going to do your reading for this week. I do want to take one moment to bring one issue up. And part of me being away this past week has really been about my own personal truth. And I certainly posted this on my YouTube channel and also on my Facebook page, and deciding what things in my life I was giving too much attention to that I shouldn't be, or accepting from other people that is actually creating a burden for me and not really in alignment with what I'm comfortable with who I am, with who I've become even. And one of those things is, folks, I am not on YouTube to get dates. I'm just not. So please stop reaching out with that kind of energy. I know that some of you mean well and some of you are just creeps. Most of you are neither, or most of you are not creeps and all of you mean well for the most part. But please do not do that. I'm setting that boundary here. That part of my life is not on display for the general public. And frankly, that's my prerogative. And if you have not received a response from me in regards to ways that you are pushing in order to gain access to my private life, that is because I don't intend to give it to you. So please just take that. And please don't cross that boundary with me going further. That's for a number of you, because I have held on to this message for quite some time, wanting to always be in the energy of receiving and the energy of acceptance and unconditional love. But sometimes being in unconditional love for yourself means to set boundaries with people who are pushing in ways that are not appropriate. And that is one of those ways. Okay. So since that was not for that many of you, and almost all of you are amazing, let's move on from that now. Okay. You'll probably notice my voice is a little hoarse. I might cough a little bit. I'm not my normal spunky self. This has been a challenging week for me. And I am deep into my fall allergies right now. So that's what's going on with me there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start shuffling the cards. I've already gone into the akashic records through the Book of Truth, and we're going to get some messages that the collective needs to hear for this week ahead. Okay. I am not specifically asking about the new moon coming up a week from today just yet, because we are a week away. I hope to do a reading for that specifically, but again, I'm going on my timeline, folks. I know that almost all of you would support that, so I thank you for your patience and your understanding with everything. All right. So Source, please provide us with messages for the collective for the week ahead. I'm going with my good old-fashioned Psychic Tarot of the Heart. It's one of those Hay House publications. So it's one of those that like everybody has, but I just sometimes really relate to it. So messages for the collective, please, for the week ahead. Wow, okay. For the collective, please, Source. Not sure about that one. All right, guys. The first two cards that came out were the third eye chakra with the heart chakra. And so I feel like for a lot of us, this week is going to continue to allow us to dive into this sort of alignment of heart with truth, okay? And we can absolutely access truth via the heart. In fact, that's one of the most, I feel like, accurate portals to it. But what I feel like is coming out here is a little bit of balance between the allowing the intuitive knowing to come in, allowing the channeled, sort of the, I use the word channel because that's how I deal with it, but not everybody deals with this by channeling. But in some sense, I just want to point out for a second that actually the crown chakra came out a little later. And what I really feel about this is kind of that divine knowing. It's almost like a claircognizance that comes through that we are aligning ourselves with at this time. So I feel like a lot of us are going to still be in some states of discomfort coming up. And that's about aligning you to your truth. It's about pointing you to where things aren't really lining up with what you really are. And sometimes it's a roundabout path to getting through what is actually fear and what is not really your truth that you need to align to, or what is clearing out a blockage to actually getting to your truth, which you may have felt discomfort around in the past. So just because you feel discomfort does not mean necessarily that there's not something of truth in that, okay? But it's the process of living is kind of taking these individual incremental steps toward our true alignment. And every step we take gets us closer to that, even if paradoxically it kind of runs us off into another direction for a little bit. And that's really what I'm feeling right now. It's almost like when you have a pendulum and you push it a little bit in the other direction in order to get it to kind of realign in the center. So there may be some of that going on. I do feel like this is, and that might be about your energy, that might be about the experiences that are coming up for you, that might be about the messages you're receiving. Some of this will appear to be truth when it isn't, and some of this may appear to be false ego stuff when really it is coming up in that way to get you to consider it in a different light, if that makes sense. So I want to say that our human perception is not always what it seems, that there's a wider, more unified perception of the whole that comes to us through the whole, and that the whole, not the whole, but like the whole, and that we need to broaden our perspective in order to allow the most light, the most truth to come in at once. And so I think the message that they're really trying to give to you, because they know that this is going to turn some things on his head a little bit, but whatever you're receiving, just sit with it a little bit. You don't need to decide right now what to do with it. There might be a little bit of a pause where you let it percolate, where you allow yourself to decide, okay, does this really feel right? Or does this feel like what is supposed to feel right? Because what is supposed to feel right is probably hardwired into that matrix energy, right? What we've been taught, what we've been told is supposed to be right. I really get like this sense of everything being a little bit in a fun house this week. So if that's the feeling, what I want to really convey to you is that it is about bringing you to balance. So you might be thrown off balance in order to come back into balance. And it is divinely guided, that this is not happening to you because you fucked up, because you did anything wrong, because you're in a bad energy, because you are not in alignment. It may indeed be happening to you because it's getting you into alignment, okay? This is the Six of Pentacles. It's called giving and receiving, but to me, it's also about alignment. Because we are in perfect alignment if our giving and receiving is balanced, if our masculine and feminine is balanced, if our yin and yang are balanced, if our light and dark are balanced, you know? That's what this is all about. So whatever it is that you're going through, if you are in like sort of a spiral, they're showing me a spiral. So I feel like if some of you are feeling like you're spiraling out, if some of you are feeling like you're kind of in a hole, kind of maybe in another dark night of the soul, or even minor dark night of the soul, something like that, it's about you personally reevaluating what is true for you. This idea of truth keeps coming up. They just said it's since Jupiter went forward, came out of retrograde, stopped stationing, and is now moving forward. This idea of truth is kind of moving more quickly. So it's like for a while, it was very much an internal evaluation, and it still is, but it's going to be supported by the external at this point, and it's also going to be moving you more quickly. You might have felt for a while that things were, I don't even want to say static, but I want to say that they kind of came to a point of balance, and now it's like boom, hitting it in the other direction, so that you can look at another side of it. I almost want to, like, the Hanged Man didn't come out here, but I almost want to bring that energy in here because I feel like it's kind of getting pushed off. It's almost like a takeoff. And that came up just as I was looking down at this card called Spread Your Wings. It's really the Two of Wands in this deck. But you see this person is like, her wings are spread as if she's about to take off. And that's what this is allowing you to do, because it's really shaking up whatever had become stagnant in the last like 6 to 9 months. Really 6 months-ish. And it's going to make you look at it differently. It's going to make you reevaluate truth. And for some of you, I feel like this may cause some frustration. All right. I do want to bring these next two cards up now because it's the Seven of Swords with the Tower card. Seek the truth with rebuild. And I'm just channeling through the messages, and it's so crazy how I'm not even really like, I saw the cards, but I'm not like integrating them until I get to them. And so this is the perfect point at which to bring these in to remind you that sometimes our lives go on this path, like I was talking about, where you're going in the right direction always, but it might be a little bit, there might be a little bit of a detour for you to have a specific experience. And that the truth that you develop over time might be challenged then later because you come to an either even larger, even greater, even more universal truth, okay? That doesn't mean your truth before wasn't also your truth, but there are breakthroughs. Like this to me feels like a breakthrough or a breakdown in or both, probably both. There are times then when that old way of living, which served you for a certain amount of time, that old way of thinking, which served you for a certain amount of time, those old ideas, those old support systems I even want to bring up, all of that stuff, when it's time to then trade that in for a newer model, so to speak. And you choose that model. This is not this is really not things being taken away from you. You're making these choices, but you're making them via sometimes an uncomfortable realization, or maybe things, because they're showing me things in the external world potentially coming in stronger to show you more strongly where you're not living in that core place. Okay. This energy is really moving through me right now. What they want me to really impress upon you is that does not mean you've been living a lie, okay? You've been living the life that you chose based on the best decisions you could make at the time you made them. And because life is not a static thing, ascension is not a static thing. It evolves. That's where that word comes in. There will be times when things will change and need to be reevaluated. And there's some of that going on right now. I want to say that definitely seeing Pluto and this really like heavy magnetic energy associated with Pluto. So it may feel like a whole lot of things are being just sucked into a black hole of disaster right now. And that is because it's revealing the dark underbelly. We've been doing that for a while. This is not new, okay? So, but you might get this feeling of when the fuck is this going to change for me? And I don't know the answer to that at this second. And it looks like they're not going to tell me. Yeah, they're not going to tell me. I'll tell you what these cards are in 1 second. I'm sure it has to do with the alignments, and it probably has to do with your own birth chart too. Because, for instance, for me, my Pluto is squaring my natal Pluto is squaring the transiting Pluto for a long time. So that be gonna suck for a long time. But it doesn't really suck, folks, because what's happening is all this stuff that's not real is slowly but surely breaking away. All these kind of parasitic, they're using the word entities. So it may be a literal entity in your life, whether it's a person or an energetic attachment, but I feel that that means anything, okay? So don't take this as you have an entity attached to you or anything like that. But these things are gradually breaking off bit by bit and moving through the transmuting. That's another energy of Pluto. Okay. We have been in Libra season where the sun has been squaring or transiting Pluto, but we're now moving into shortly Scorpio season, which is all about this transformation, which is all about this rebuild, this Tower card transformation. Really, the Death card relates to Scorpio, but I also often relate the Tower card because what initiates transformation but this massive breakdown of that which is not real, what is not true, okay? And so that we are going to be in this continued time of seeking what is true in our lives and allowing what is not to kind of be transmuted. They keep showing me this image because I'm an animal rescuer, right? I work with pets who come in who may be infected with a disease called heartworm. And that comes from a mosquito. The mosquito like transforms within their body into these worms which lodge in the heart. And so that is like one stage of being where you have been infected or you have been attached to, or you have even built something in your life, which is you are existing with for a time. But when you treat heartworm, the treatment itself feels like, and it is indeed in the physical world, in reality, it is a poison that they often treat this with. And I'm not going to get super specific on this because the piece they keep showing me is that once you kill the worms, animal has to stay calm and in a rest state for a time as the pieces of dead worm, I know this is disgusting, I don't know why they're doing it this way, break off slowly, bit by bit, in small enough pieces that it's barely noticeable. And the reason that it's important that the animal stay calm and that these pieces are so small is so that a large chunk doesn't break off and cause a pulmonary embolism, something that is devastating and actually kills the physical body, right? And so I think the point that they're making here is this transformation seems to be taking long because it is these tiny, almost unnoticeable, and sometimes noticeable, but almost unnoticeable pieces are breaking off and flowing out through the energy body, through whatever kind of alchemical process we have going on where we're transmuting our energy, so that it takes a long time and it feels like a slow drag out of some of these difficult energies. But part of that is so that it does not blow up your entire life at once, if that makes sense. What they want to say when I was asking about timing, like how long is this going to go on? And again, I do believe it has to do with Pluto and the Scorpio energy. And we are only talking about this week right now, so let's put that out there. But they did say focus on service and trustworthy guidance. So they don't want us to focus on how long is this going to be. They want us to focus back in on our truest source guidance, and I'm really feeling like a focus on the day-to-day that we have to do and get through in order to help almost pass this time while this transformative process is already happening, okay? This does not feel tremendously active. It does not feel like you are consciously cutting cords. You might be, but I feel like we might have just done that, and we might be in that process of allowing it to clear our bodies and our energy bodies, okay? And so this is just like, you're receiving trustworthy guidance. Listen to it and don't fear. And this is about focus on what you know you need to do. That's all you need to know right now. And for some people, this is frustrating, but for others, I think this is very comforting because it means that you do not need to worry about other details at this moment. And the other card that came out here is Work Your Magic. It's Saint Germain. And Work Your Magic for me, first of all, this feels very much about the process of alchemy, the process of transmutation, which is what we're going through. I almost get the picture of a crucible with some kind of chemical in there that you have, and the crucible is closed and you have lit it on fire with this Bunsen burner. And within this crucible, this chemical process is taking place, okay? And I feel that this is what's happening here. This is the magic that's taking place. This is the alchemical transformation happening within all of our energy fields at this time. And that is how you're working your magic. You're simply allowing it to happen, okay? All while trusting the guidance, recognizing the truth as it comes in, and comparing it to your core energy, your core truth. And then looking in that and saying, is this still my core truth? I mean, does our core change? I feel like I was in a class once where that question was asked, and I don't remember what we all came to in that process, but I am going to say, okay, this is interesting. My original, what I was about to come out of my mouth is that we don't change who we are at our core. But the feeling I get is that we are always, okay, what they're saying to me is both of these things are true. All right, so sorry, I don't know if I'm confusing you to death. Both of these things are true. That we don't change at our core, at our true core, right? Some of us are completely out of touch with what that really is. But we are always changing because we are always evolving according to the reactions to all the energies around us. And we make choices in every moment which change us. And so we are always changing. Now, this is another layer outside the core truth, but it is always part of the same. It is always part of the whole. And so what they're saying is we need to get away from trying to define things in terms of what piece of the puzzle are we talking about at this moment, and begin to get into seeing it in relation to the whole, because they are indeed all the same thing. That makes sense on the energetic level. I'm feeling that. My brain is scrambling to define all of those things so that I know what I'm saying before I spit it out to you guys. I feel like there's an egoic part of me that does not want to be irresponsible and spew information that is maybe way off base. But they're telling me that's not the point here. That it's about seeing the core as part of the whole right now, and seeing that the shifts that we undertake can take us in other directions as they bring us back to our truth. So for whatever that's worth, however that relates to your life right now, that's what we're getting coming in for this week. I do want to get a few more cards here. And I'm being drawn to these, I got these new archetype cards that are these big circles. They're made by Kim Kranz, who made the Wild Unknown decks. So this is the Wild Unknown archetype cards. And I still have to read the book for most of these, but I find them very interesting. And it's this very thick, fat deck of cards. So I'm actually going to lay them out here. And I want to pick like two, because I'm going to read the book probably. So I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to pick two that are affecting the collective this week. Two cards for the collective, please, this week. Okay. The first one that came out is the Heart, which also came out here. So we're going to see what they have to say about that. And the next one that came out is the Threshold. I want to say that this is an energy that I've intuitively been picking up for a little bit as well. We'll see what the book has to say, but the idea of the threshold is that it's like this defined point where you cross from one space into another. And I feel like that's what this pause is here. That's what these alchemical changes are here. It's this pause as we transform into moving into the next stage. Okay. So, let's just see what she says about this. All right. The Heart. The home, the center, the throne. It is possible from an imaginal point of view to sense the heart as a place. Either we are there within the realm of expansion and compassion, or we have drifted somewhere else. There is no in between. It's common for us to leave this archetypal center without realizing it, as the world, with its seductive twists and turns, offers us frequent departure. We may even become a stranger to the landscape of the heart, leaving it vacant for long stretches of time. The seat of the heart is often reclaimed by nature, music, dance, and the presence of children or animals. This card encourages us to move past the layers of life's tangles and knots, this makes so much sense, and enter the wild and sacred center of the self. This most precious throne in the galaxy is awaiting your return. The light aspects of this are expansive knowing, gentle clarity. The darker aspects of this are fraught, tangled betrayal. And if you want to go deeper, she adds like some kind of like books or songs or whatever where you can sort of get more of the idea of this. She lists Wild is the Wind by Nina Simone, a singer. And a few other things that she puts here. Some say there is a cave at the center of the heart. Others say it's a pool with the flowering white lotus. Imagine yourself there and draw what you see. And then recall the last time your heart was touched. Soak in every detail you can and feel the heart awaken. So those are two ways you can help to awaken the heart space. But this comes up here and it makes a lot of sense especially the message where they were talking about kind of driving you away from it shortly to bring you right back to it. And those are the experiences that kind of enrich our experience of what our core truth is. And whenever I think of our core, it always is in the heart. It's related to the higher self, which is also related to all the other levels of connection that we have in the higher planes. But for me, it's around the heart space. It is not ruled by the emotions. Let's get that very straight, okay? It's different. But it is sort of another dimension of that same. We say the heart, but the heart means so many things to us in our culture. And this is that truth level of the heart, okay? All right, so the next card here is the Threshold. These use like big Roman numerals, so I had to like refresh. Okay, here it is. Okay, the Threshold. The door, the gate, the initiation. Did I not just say like initiation a few minutes ago? I don't know, maybe I didn't. I meant to. We cross the thresholds continually, consciously, and unconsciously. Doorways, gates, and entryways grace our path on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one, however. You have arrived at a threshold of initiation, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed. This makes so much sense with everything we just talked about. A new frontier calls. This is not easy work. Threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next. A metaphorical death must occur. All that Pluto energy. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into your new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend. Just take that one necessary step toward the future that calls you. The light aspect is growth, individuation, ease in the liminal. And when the the dark is resisting, refusal to grow, barriers and boundaries. So when you are sort of in resistance to the growth that you feel is coming in, that's sort of the dark aspect of this. And we are all in light and dark aspects of these archetypes frequently. We're going to go back and forth. So this is not like to say that you did something wrong or you made a mistake. They're actually saying it's necessary to cycle through the light and the dark aspects, okay? So just know that as you move through it and be in acceptance of all of it. That's the important part, is being in acceptance of all of it. To go deeper, lie on the floor and listen to Bob Dylan's Standing in the Doorway. Okay. In Hindu mythology, Ganesh is the ultimate gatekeeper. Look to the great elephant god for support. Hecate, Janus, and Mention are also watching over you. Also, crossing a threshold may not always be voluntary. Sometimes we are thrown across the boundary through circumstances far beyond our control. Either way, we cannot go back. So this is a very Plutonian energy, extremely, at least the way that it's being described. And so it fits perfectly in with the other energies that I'm pulling up for this week. And so I'm just wishing you a whole lot of strength, inner strength. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to be hard, but really it's the strength to surrender and the strength to be in acceptance, because it takes a lot more strength. Actually, it takes a lot more inner strength at times to be in acceptance, but it is really obviously far more in alignment, and therefore much more ease and light comes in as we surrender to what is essentially. It is a lot of work to stay in resistance, and we have been in some places in our lives in resistance, and anybody who's saying they aren't is probably the most resistant of all, because we all do it. We all do it. So I'm wishing you a lot of love for this week and support. You have my support, my energetic support. I thank you all for being here. Please don't forget to check out my website, which is IamEmilyGear.com. I thank you all for your likes and subscribes and shares. And do check my channel for the Twin Flame reading, which is coming up next, which God only knows what it's going to look like considering this energy. But know that this is all good stuff, all good for us, okay? All right, guys, here is my website again, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.